In today's media-driven world, the role of the media in shaping public opinion has become increasingly evident, especially during pivotal moments like elections. It is crucial for students and the general public to understand how media outlets, through either biased or objective reporting, can influence the way citizens perceive political events. By examining dramatized, real-world inspired examples, we can better understand the impact of media bias on democracy and voter behavior. In a fictional country similar to Uganda, a presidential election presents two strong candidates: President Kaguna, a long-time incumbent seeking re-election after decades in power, and Joshua Alini, a young and dynamic opposition leader who promises to bring change. These two figures reflect a battle between continuity and reform, and their political campaigns play out in a media landscape dominated by different outlets with varied agendas. One such outlet is Ghana National Broadcasting (VNB), a state-run media house with deep ties to the government. Throughout the election campaign, VNB exhibits clear bias in favor of President Kaguna, portraying him as the stabilizing force that has led the country through years of development. On the other hand, independent media outlets, like the Tribune Daily and World News Service, strive to offer balanced coverage of both candidates, allowing citizens to form their own opinions based on a broader perspective. VNB dedicates much of its programming to positive portrayals of Kaguna's presidency. New segments feature images of well-constructed roads, new hospitals, and schools built under his administration. His speeches at rallies are broadcasted in full, showing massive crowds and emphasizing his enduring popularity. The narrative craft by VNB is one of progress, stability, and experience. Through selective editing, VNB projects Kaguna as the architect of peace and development, focusing on his long history of leadership and his contributions to the nation's infrastructure. In contrast, VNB's portrayal of Joshua Alini is distinctly negative. While Alini garners considerable attention from younger voters, his campaign is covered only sporadically, and when it is, the focus is on disruptions or clashes between his supporters and law enforcement. VNB rarely shows Alini's speeches in full, choosing instead to highlight moments when tension arises at his rallies. The network often frames Alini as inexperienced and incapable of handling the complexities of national leadership, drawing attention to his background as a musician rather than his policy ideas or his calls for political reform. The result is a one-sided portrayal that casts doubt on Alini's ability to lead, subtly steering voters toward Kaguna as the safer, more experienced choice. The imbalance in VNB's reporting serves to manipulate public opinion, especially in rural areas where access to alternative media is limited. By continually emphasizing Kaguna's achievements and downplaying or discrediting Alini, VNB shapes the perception that the incumbent president is the only viable option for maintaining stability and progress in the country. While VNB's biased reporting dominates state-controlled media, independent outlets like the Tribune Daily and World News Service offer more balanced coverage of the election. These outlets critically examine the merits of both candidates, providing readers and viewers with the information needed to make an informed decision. The Tribune publishes in-depth articles on both Kaguna's long tenure and Alini's rise to political prominence. Rather than simply praising or criticizing one candidate, they present the complexities of each leader's platform. For example, when discussing Kaguna's administration, the Tribune acknowledges the infrastructure improvements made under his rule while also addressing concerns about his increasingly authoritarian style, his suppression of opposition voices, and the growing youth disillusionment with his regime. Similarly, they report on Alini's message of democratic reform and his appeal to a younger, more progressive electorate, offering readers a balanced view of both his strengths and the challenges he would face if elected. International outlets like World News Service take this balanced approach even further, interviewing both Kaguna and Alini directly. Through these interviews, both candidates are given a platform to explain their policies and vision for the country. World News Service also contextualizes the election within broader concerns, such as reports of human rights violations, restrictions on political gatherings, and a government-mandated internet shutdown in the days leading up to the election. By providing this broader context, these outlets offer a more comprehensive view of the political landscape, enabling voters to evaluate each candidate's campaign on its own merits rather than through the filter of state-sponsored media bias. The impact of this biased versus objective reporting is profound. In rural areas where VN's coverage dominates, many voters are likely to see Kekona as the only legitimate candidate. The continual emphasis on his stability, experience, and contributions to development paints him as the safe choice, while the negative coverage of Eleni makes him appear risky and untested. For these voters, the state-run media's selective portrayal shapes their understanding of the election, making it difficult for them to consider alternative perspectives or critically evaluate Kekona's long-term rule. In contrast, voters who have access to independent media receive a more nuanced picture of the political landscape. By reading or watching outlets like the Tribune or World News Service, they are exposed to both Kekona's accomplishments and the legitimate criticisms of his administration. They also gain insight into Eleni's campaign, allowing them to weigh the pros and cons of each candidate. This more balanced coverage encourages critical thinking and enables these voters to make more informed choices. The consequences of biased reporting on public perception cannot be overstated. When media outlets consistently promote one candidate while undermining the other, they contribute to the spread of misinformation and the entrenchment of political divisions. In the case of Kekona and Eleni, VN's biased reporting reinforces the notion that Kekona is the only leader capable of maintaining stability, effectively marginalizing Eleni's platform of change. This type of selective coverage not only limits the electorate's ability to make an informed decision, but also deepens political polarization, as voters are divided into camps that either embrace or reject the narrative presented by the state-run media. On the other hand, objective reporting plays a crucial role in supporting a healthy democracy. By presenting both candidates fairly, independent media outlets allow voters to critically engage with the issues at hand. This balanced approach fosters a more informed electorate, reduces polarization, and ensures that citizens are equipped to make decisions based on facts rather than propaganda. In a country like Verdun, where political tensions run high and the stakes of each election are immense, the importance of media objectivity cannot be underestimated. When voters have access to unbiased information, they are better able to participate meaningfully in the democratic process. Objective reporting also holds political leaders accountable, ensuring that no candidate is above scrutiny and that voters have the tools they need to evaluate their leaders' actions. As the election in Verdun approaches, the role of the media in shaping public opinion remains at the forefront of the political conversation. For those who rely solely on VNB, the narrative is clear. Kekona is the steady hand who will guide the country through uncertain times, while Eleni is a reckless outsider who threatens the nation's stability. For those who access independent media, however, the choice is less clear-cut. They see both the successes and shortcomings of Kekona's presidency and are given the opportunity to understand Eleni's vision for reform. In conclusion, the media wields significant power in shaping public opinion during elections. In Verdun, state-run outlets like VNB provide a biased view of the political landscape, steering voters toward the incumbent president by emphasizing his achievements and undermining his opposition. Independent media, however, offer a more balanced approach, giving voters the information they need to critically evaluate both candidates. As the election draws nearer, it becomes increasingly clear that objective reporting is essential to ensuring a fair and democratic process, where voters can make informed decisions based on facts rather than manipulated narratives. Thank you for watching. We meet in the next video.